August 21st, 1899. Volume 2. Effects of Pleasing Jesus Alone. After having spent 2 days of sufferings, my benign Jesus showed himself all affability and sweetness. In my interior I kept saying, "How good the Lord is with me, yet I find nothing in me that might please him." And Jesus, answering me, told me, "My beloved, just as you find no other pleasure and contentment than being with me, conversing with me, and pleasing me alone, in such a way that all other things that are not mine are disgusting for you, in the same way my pleasure and my consolation is to come and be with you, and speak with you. You cannot comprehend the power that a soul who has the sole purpose of pleasing me alone has over my heart, in drawing me to herself. I feel so bound to her that I am forced to do what she wants." While Jesus was saying this, I understood that he was speaking in that way because during the past days, while suffering most bitter pains, I kept saying in my interior, "My Jesus, everything for love of you. May these pains be as many acts of praise, of honor, of homage that I offer you. May these pains be as many voices that glorify you, and as many proofs that tell you that I love you." August 21st, 1901, Volume 4. The Celestial Mamma teaches the secret of true happiness. As I was in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself. After going round and round in search of Jesus, I found the Queen Mamma instead, and oppressed and tired as I was, I said to her, "My most sweet Mamma, I lost the way to find Jesus. I don't know where else to go, nor what to do in order to find him again." While saying this, I was crying, and she said to me, "My daughter, follow me, and you will find the way, and Jesus. Even more, I want to teach you the secret of how you can always be with Jesus, and live always content and happy, even on this earth. Fix in your interior that there is only Jesus and you in the world, and no one else, and that him alone must you please, satisfy, and love. And from him alone must you expect to be loved in return, and contented in everything. If you are in this way with Jesus, you will no longer be affected, whether you are surrounded by scorns or praises, by relatives or strangers, by friends or enemies. Jesus alone will be all your contentment, and Jesus alone will be enough for you in the place of all. My daughter, until everything that exists down here disappears completely in the soul, one cannot find true and perpetual contentment." Now, while she was saying this, Jesus came into our midst as though from within a flash. I took him and brought him with me, and I found myself inside myself. August 21st, 1927, Volume 22. How Jesus Wants to End It with the World. The power of what is done in the divine will in order to placate divine justice. As I was in my usual state, my adorable Jesus came, all in a hurry, and throwing his arms around my neck, he clasped me so very tightly, telling me, "My daughter, I end it with the world. I can take no more. The offenses, the pains they give me, are too many. Therefore, it is necessary that I destroy them." I trembled in hearing this, and I said to him, "My love and my life, of course you suffer very much and can take no more, because you want to suffer alone. But if you shared your pains with me, you would suffer less and would not reach the point of no longer being able to bear the poor creatures. Therefore let me take part in your pains. Let us share them together, and you will see how you will be able to bear them still. Hurry, do not suffer alone any longer. Try, O Jesus. You are right, you suffer very much, and this is why I pray you, let us share them together and placate yourself. Then, after much insistence, my sweet Jesus let me suffer, but those were the shadows of his pains, and yet I felt as though being destroyed, crushed. But I am unable to say what I suffered, and besides, about certain things it is better to keep silent. Then, as though tired of his long suffering, Jesus hid within me in order to find some relief, and I felt myself being invested completely by Jesus. I saw the eyes of Jesus everywhere within me, and he told me that those eyes were tired of looking at the earth, and he was looking for shelter. The light of those eyes of Jesus fixed on various points of the earth, and the evils committed in those places were so many that light incited him to destroy them. I prayed him to spare them, placing his blood, his pains, his life, his eternal will before him. And Jesus, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, the power of the prayers, of the acts, of the pains suffered in my will is unreachable. While you were praying and suffering, my blood, my steps, my works were praying, my pains were being multiplied and repeated. So all that is done in it gives me the occasion to repeat again what I did while being on earth. And this is the greatest act in order to placate divine justice. Then, continuing my round in the divine volition, and not finding my sweet Jesus, I was lamenting within myself, and saying to myself, how can it be that Jesus no longer comes so often as before? And while he tells the wonders of his will, and where one who lives in it can reach, instead of coming more often, he comes with more delay. Now, while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, my humanity hides within you, and I give place and large field to my divine will, to let it operate freely, and to let it form its kingdom." There once was the free time in which my humanity had its field of action in you, and therefore it was always with you and by you, and my divine will let me do it, so that I might prepare you to receive the field of action made more extensive by the endless Fiat. And so I must let it do it. More so since it does not prevent me from remaining with you, because we are inseparable. And while being with you, I delight in binding your soul like a tiny little bird with the thread of light of my will, and I make you fly in the immensity of it, flinging you into its innumerable acts, keeping in my hands the thread that holds you bound. And you, wandering away within its acts, lose sight of me, while I am waiting for you to follow all the acts of my divine will, to then pull the thread behind you. Before, you would not follow all of its acts. You would follow the small circle of the acts of my humanity, which is small in comparison to the acts of my divine volition. And this is why each act and pain of yours would make you encounter your Jesus, and I was all intent on making you copy my humanity. Therefore it was necessary that I keep the brush in my hand in order to form my image in you, to dispose the canvas of your soul to receive the vivid colors, dipped in the light of my divine Fiat. What was necessary before is not necessary now. However, this does not mean that I am not with you. We live together within the eclipse formed by the light of an eternal will, and its light is so great as to eclipse us and make us lose each other. But if the light is dimmed, I can see you and you can see me, and we find each other as if we had never been separated. August 21st, 1932, Volume 31. Desire and need of Jesus that he hear the I love you of the creature. How his love remains bankrupt. Love, the blood of the soul. Anemia that exists in the world. I was going around in the acts of the divine will, and oh, how I would want to give the exchange of my acts with its acts. And being too little and incapable of being able to do equivalent acts in order to exchange its acts, I put forth my little I love you, because even though it is little, Jesus wants it. He awaits it in order to tell me, the newborn of my will has put our acts in hers, so they are no longer alone, but have the company of her for whose sake they were created. And this was and is our will, to give the field of action to the creature in our same acts, in order to be able to say to her, we love and operate in one single field. But I thought to myself, what great thing is this little I love you of mine that Jesus wants and loves so much? And my beloved Jesus, all goodness, told me, little daughter of my volition, you must know that I love your I love you, and I am always in the act of waiting for it. I love you always, nor do I ever cease loving you. And if you stop loving me, I feel that I give you my continuous love, and you do not give it to me, and my love feels as though robbed by you. On the contrary, when my I love you runs and finds yours prompt to give to me, and to receive my I love you, mine feels repaid. And it happens that your I love you gives mine no time, nor does mine give yours any time. A race, a contest of love occurs between creator and creature. More so when I see that you are about to tell me I love you, my will invests your I love you, to make it from little great. And I find my love in yours. How could I not love and want it? Daughter, they are my usual stratagems, my industries, because I give in order to receive. This is my commerce. I love. I give love in order to receive love. And when I am not loved, my commerce is bankrupt. And since my passion is love, I neither tire nor do I draw back. I begin all over. I repeat the industries. I abound with stratagems and with tenderness in order to redo my bankrupt love in the creature. Oh, if you knew how wounded and sorrowful my heart is when I say I love you, and she does not hear my call that I make her in order to have hers. In addition to this, you must know that love is the blood of the soul, and my will the life. And just as in the natural order, life cannot function without blood, and blood cannot circulate if there isn't a life, and according to the abundance of blood, so one enjoys health, the same in the supernatural order. The soul in my divine will cannot function without the blood of love. However more love there is, so much more will the soul feel strong, robust, and active in operating. Otherwise, she will suffer anemia and end in consumption. So when there is not enough blood of love, my very will, for however much it is life, becomes sick and inoperative in the soul, because she lacks the blood of love in order to function. All virtues are made anemic, and patience, strength, sanctity, all these virtues are seen faded, changed into defects. Therefore there is much anemia in the world, because it lacks the pure blood of my love, and accordingly they go toward a terrible consumption that brings them to ruin in the soul and in the body. This is why I love you so much, and I want it in all my acts, in all created things, and in every act of the creature, in order to be able to form much blood as antidote and remedy to the anemia that exists, and this will be preparatory to the kingdom of my will. Therefore I feel the need of your love. It is true that it is little, but I do not look at whether it is little or great. Rather, I look at whether it was done in the power of my will, which makes the littlest acts great for me, and invests them with such beauty as to enrapture me. Therefore it is enough for you to know that I want it. It pleases me and makes me content for you to do it, whether I see it as being little or great. And this I love you of yours I want in the heartbeat of your heart, in the air that you breathe, in the heavens, in the sun, in in everything. Oh, how I would want to see that your I love you invests heaven and earth, creatures and Creator. August 21st, 1938, Volume 36. Difference between the life that Jesus forms in the sacramental hosts and the life Jesus forms in one who lives in his will. I was always along the way of the divine will, and feeling worried, I said to myself, how can it be that so many divine lives can be formed in us for as many acts that we do in it? And my always adorable Jesus, in order to let me understand better, told me, my daughter, everything is easy to us, because when we find one who gives her human will to live in ours, we delight to form even in the motion, in the breathing, in the step, new lives that move, breathe, and speak. The human will gives us many veils in which we form many of our lives. This is the ultimate expression of our love, and we like it so much that, provided that the human will gives us its little veil, we populate all its acts with the variety of our divine lives. And then my Eucharistic life proves and confirms what I am telling you. Aren't perhaps the accidents of the bread like small veils in which I am consecrated, alive, and real in body, blood, soul, and divinity? If there are 1,000 hosts, I form my life in each one of them. If there's one host only, I form one life. But what does the host give to me? Nothing. Not one I love you, not a breath, not a heartbeat, not a single step to accompany. I am lonely, and many times this loneliness oppresses me, embitters me, and I burst into tears. How heavy it is for me not having one to whom I can say a word. I am in the nightmare of a deep silence. What can the host give to me? The hiding place in which to hide myself, the tiny little prison to make me, I would almost say, to make me unhappy. But since it is my will that wants me to remain in each sacramental host, and my will never brings unhappiness, either to us or to the creatures who live in it, it makes flow in my sacramental life our celestial joys, which are inseparable from us. This from our side, but the host never gives me anything. It doesn't defend me. It doesn't love me. Now, if I form my lives in the hosts that give me nothing, how much more would I form them for those who live in my will? The difference between my sacramental lives and the many lives I form in one who lives in my will is incalculable. It is greater than the difference between heaven and earth. It is primarily that we are never alone, and having company is the greatest joy that delights both the divine and the human life. Now you must know that, as I form my life in the thought of the creature who lives in my will, I feel the company of the human intelligence, which courts me and loves me. It comprehends me, placing its memory, intellect, and will in my power. Since these three powers were created in our image, I feel our eternal memory that forgets nothing, given to us for company. I feel the company of my wisdom that understands me, and also the company of the human will fused with mine, loving me with my eternal love. How could I not multiply for each of her thoughts as many of our lives? When we find her understanding and loving us more, we can say that we find our reward, since the more lives we form, the more we let ourselves be understood. We redouble our love and she loves us more. If we form our life in her word, we find company in her word. And since our fiat is her own, we also find all the prodigies that operated when our fiat was pronounced. If we form our life in her breath, we find her breath that breathes together with ours and keeps company with our omnipotent breath, which in creating her gave her life. If we form our life in her motion, oh, we find her hands that hug us, squeeze us tightly, and don't want to leave us ever again. If we form it in her steps, they follow us everywhere. What beautiful company is one who lives in our will! There is no danger that she may leave us alone. We are mutually inseparable. Therefore, living in our will is the prodigy of prodigies, in which we show off our many different lives. So we let her know who we are, what we can do, and we put the creature in order with us, as we created her. You must know that these, our divine lives, bring with them seas of light and love, seas of wisdom, beauty, and goodness, that invest the creature, letting her possess ever-increasing light, never-ceasing love, understanding wisdom, ever-growing beauty. This is why we love so much that the creature live in our will, because we want to give. We want her to understand us. We want to crowd all the human acts with our divine lives. We do not want to be constrained, repressed in our divine circle. We have the power to give, but cannot. How painful this is! And until the creatures live in our will, they will always be the little ignorant of our Supreme Being, incapable of learning even the vowels of how much we love them and of how much we can give to them. They will always be our children, dissimilar from us, who perhaps do not even know us, degenerate of their father. End of August 21st. Fiat.